We are starting again, really. It's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. I think if we continue like this rate over the next 3 or 4 years, we'll see a big difference in this place.
We actually started last season expecting to have been relegated, following quite a difficult season the year before. We weren't, we stayed in the league we were in, and more often than not struggled to put a team out.
I think we would have been asked to leave the league if we hadn't played, because we'd missed 3 or 4 games.
But the lads stuck at it. There was a big core of players that really wanted the club to do well and knew they had to go through the hardship in order to come out the other side. People got put off training and coming to the initial training sessions. The players that were then committed to training were getting fed up with calling sessions off or having less than 10 people show up, and that sort of bred people looking for other clubs. It became more and more challenging as we went through it.
It saddened me the last 2 years to see the challenges that the club were facing, and the opportunity came up in conversation. Would I be interested in coming back, clean sweep of the club, and to really replicate what I'd done at my last 2 clubs in stabilising the club and then hopefully aiming for promotion.
We knew it wouldn't be overnight success. Just bringing John in and a couple of players back doesn't mean we're going to be winning the league. Everyone really needed to buy into it.
So there were a lot of conversations with the guys who had travelled to clubs like Eccleshall, hour and a half drive with 13 men and taken a 100-0 defeat. I made no promises to them except that I felt it would get better. At the AGM, I presented to players, past players, the committee members, my goals for the club for this year, and they weren't necessarily related to what happens on the pitch, apart from one goal was that the first team would fulfil every league fixture this year. Our second goal was to get the second team playing by the end of the season every couple of weeks. But my main goal was to hopefully bring a bit of fun and enjoyment back and put some smiles on faces of those that are playing and those that are on the sideline. And I think that's been the biggest success. Our second team are playing today and it's their 18th fixture this year.
1, 2, 3,
Our president and chairman last season both retired. They decided to step down after both having really long services as sort of top of the committee, really. So it gave the opportunity for some fresh ideas to come in. We had a lot of lads, half our committee's players essentially, and they've got fresh ideas. They want to develop the club, they want to modernise it. You can see that based on our emblem, for example. We've gone from the traditional crest to modernising it, so we've got a team logo. We wanted to keep our traditions, stay as a traditional grassroots rugby club, but put a modern spin on it and increase the amount of interest from the younger generation. Bar specifically is a main social area. We've just invested in a number of TVs. We had a big captaincy board that showed the chairman, president, captain, etc. We've moved that to the other side of the room and fitted a large telly opposite the bar, renovated all of the bar, updated all the sound systems, etc. to make it more welcoming, not just for people that want to watch rugby, but if the football's on, etc., they can come in and enjoy it as a sports social club as well as just playing rugby.
At the level we play at, it's very difficult for people to give up the time, level 10 and reserves at level 10. So what we focused on was during the summer months when we got good light, weather was nicer, we trained twice a week. And then from the end of September, we switched it to a single night a week on the hope that we wouldn't then get a split of 15 on a Tuesday and 12 on a Thursday.
I got frustrated 2 weeks ago because we had 20 players show up to training and I was expecting 30, 40 training. It's amazing how far we've kind of come in that short space of time. We can split off and do forwards drills and we can split off and do backs drills, we can do team runs. When we have access to larger space, we're able to actually get a team run going and separate the newer lads off and give them some one-to-one coaching, because we've got players even joining midway through the season which have never played before, and we don't want to drop them straight into here's a full contact training session.
I see our club growing to be a more successful club, better facilities. For example, we want a 3 or 4G pitch with the shock pads so we can play rugby and football floodlit. So we'll benefit not just the rugby club but football, five-a-side, whatever.
The player survey we put out prior to the season, there were a lot of common themes come back. One was they wanted them and the club to become more professional. So on the back of myself coming in, I also brought in a forwards coach. So he drives standards. We also wanted to make sure that the guys valued the badge. So there's been a real push this year to make sure that we're turning up in shirt and tie, that we're in the bar afterwards. We find our opposite number in the bar, we make sure we have a drink with them and socialise with them. And all these little things have just helped.
There's a lot of volunteers that come from retired players. So one of our committee members has done really well in recruiting some of those retired players who are still in and around the club as, you know, social members and drinkers in the bar. He's really worked hard to get them to help out around the club, whether that be litter picking, putting up our pitch side barriers, and just general activity in and around keeping the place tidy. But there's also the buy-in from some of the players as well. So we have a number of people on the committee that spend a lot of time helping and supporting the club. The pitch side barrier is going to be there to increase sponsorship and revenue for the club. So the overall goal is to start advertising that next season to local businesses, and they can advertise their business at the side of our pitch. We've got the VO camera which films all our games, and you may see on our TikTok account, but we put the tri-lights on, for example. So that will give us an opportunity there to showcase the rugby on social media, but also show off the sponsorship boards in the background, so they're getting a little bit more for their money.
Because obviously we run a multi-sports place. We've got football, you know, we've got the boxing. We're hoping to have the bowls as well back in. You know, we have a ladies club that comes here once a week and they train in here. It's onwards and upwards, but now I write a letter once every 5, 6 weeks. We send out to all the members, because the members have gone, as I said, from like 35 to 105 at the moment, which is a big thing for us.
With some of the players who had left, we sort of went back to them with a vision. So we have a President's Day game in April, and right at the start of the year, I sold a story that what I want them to be able to do on President's Day game is that we'll all have a beautiful club photo taken together, and we'll get it framed and we'll put it on that wall. And in 20 years' time, they'll be able to walk into this clubhouse and remember they were part of the rebuilding of the club, not I just played for the club. And I wanted them to have them sort of memories, but becoming a legend, making them memories that, as I say, 20, 30 years' time, they can come in the club with their children, they can find that photo, and then they can tell the story about the club nearly died, but between us, we all came back together and we took it out of the dark days. Our goal for year 2 is to reach out to the local community, get involved with schools, and that takes more than just a chairman, a president. It needs probably a larger committee, which is what we're now getting. Younger committee guys who identify with our target market a little bit more than the sort of the old school, which most clubs still have.
I run the social media side of things for the club, but a lot of time on my phone designing posters, running things through TikTok. And it's hugely important, especially for the younger generation coming through, that we're trying to recruit younger players and they don't really look at flyers in the gym or anything like that. They're looking online, their faces are in their phones. So we needed a way to really reach out to them and get hold of them, get their attention.
And at the moment we're trying to get links with a big secondary school in Sandwell. That's starting as of now, because we've lost that youngster element. We had it for a long time, and we did get a lot of progress from, you know, the youngsters up into us, the first team, second team years ago. So we need to start that again. The same thing with the ladies team, because everything sort of did a downward spiral, that disappeared. So we're hoping to restart that as well. So I see us moving onwards as a club and strengthening, really strengthening. We've just got to make sure that we've got that continuity, and that's the word.
To me, this is my proudest achievement as a coach, in that the club was dying. There is no doubts about it. We called our playing base at the start of the year and said, we actually haven't got 115 players on GMS or whatever. We've actually got about 45. I think we've used 86 players so far in 1s and 2s games. To finally sit down this week for selection for a first and second team game with 43 players available for selection, it was just like, I'm messaging the guys that stuck with it and saying 43 players, bet you couldn't imagine this last year. For these guys now, they're playing rugby, they're enjoying it, they're going in the bar afterwards, they're drinking with their mates. But I realise now we're actually rebuilding a proper rugby club. And I put a message out to the lads this week, you know, what Warley is. Warley is a good, honest grassroots rugby club, full of good, honest rugby players. And to me, that's success.